Okay, welcome to life coaching classes and videos by Universal Recovery 360. I keep looking this way even though the camera's on this side. I keep looking this way because it has a button over there that I need to make sure it's not doing its own thing. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about intent. Right? We have a lot of things that are issues for us. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. I'm going to look here. I'm going to bring the camera down a little bit. I always want to promote my friends. Joey B gave me that. She said, make sure when you get your offices, I got my offices. It's the first thing I put up. So thank you, Joey. And congratulations on the 33 years clean. That's what's up. Anyway, intent. So, a lot of people, right, are naturally, right, good people, right? So they have natural good intent, right? And then you got some people that just feel like, right, you deserve what you get, right? So if you do something wrong around them, right, their intent is going to be you deserve what you get. Now, they don't necessarily know that that means that they're going to be helping your outcome because of how they believe, right? They just think that you're getting that or you're suffering that outcome because that's what you deserve. You get what you deserve, right? It doesn't mean that they want you or are intentionally trying to get you to suffer on the levels that you suffer on. See, a lot of people don't know that when you go through something, you suffer on more levels than the one they think you're suffering on. So they want to get you in trouble. They hope you figure it out for yourself one day, or you go through something because you did something and hurt their feelings, and now you're suffering from it. And they're like this, yeah, now you get to see what it feels like, right? But they don't understand the depth of the suffering that you're going through. They only understand the surface of the suffering you're going through. So, of course, naturally they want to see people get what they deserve. But if a person knew, like, the actual thing that goes on inside you, if they took the time to remember how they felt, like beyond the lesson, there's still hurt, right? So, if they started to realize that those things were real, then they wouldn't so much have bad intent, because they know that the bad intent is almost like breathing the breath of life into something or saying something by its name to expose its reality, or to remind themselves of its reality. They would realize that having that intent, even though it's very, very small and surfacey, is dangerous, because then they'd be promoting to the welfare of your hurt. And I don't think people intend to do that. I think people really intend to do the right thing, and sometimes they just don't know. Now, when you talk about the people that know, right? So I deal with a lot of people who are educated, right? Or have degrees in this, or masters in that, bachelors working on their masters, double masters, triple masters, right? I work with people like that. But they struggle just like everybody else, right? With human stuff. I wanted to say shit, but with human stuff, they struggle just like everybody else. So, right, here's what happened when I was young, right? One of the things I found out about me growing up is when you're intelligent, you get diagnosed, right? Especially if you come from a place like we came from. You get diagnosed. So I got diagnosed as highly intelligent, narcissistic, with sociopathic tendencies, right? So people take that to mean, right, he's very smart, right? He's narcissistic, which means that he uses his smarts, right, to improve him, right, and to push other people down. That narcissist is a balance of what you do for you and what you do to other people, right? So the narcissistic, and then with the sociopathic tendencies, which means that I have no real feelings for other people. They are valid. They're all valid, but I don't live by what people diagnose me as. I live by doing the next right thing for the right reason. It changes everything on the on the outcome, but on the inside, I still make the same decisions I made when I was 7 years old. Right? I still think the way I thought when I was 6 years old. Right? I still feel the way I feel when I was 9 years old. Right? So I still have those same, you know, things that go on inside me. But I try to do the right thing for the right reason, which means that when something happens, my intent levels, right, are always for the best, right? But my intent levels for the best always have to see everything, right? Not just the surfacey shit, like whatever that person did to me, I have to figure out why they did it. Is it benefiting them? Is it benefiting, or do they think it's benefiting me? All this happens like this, though. Don't get me wrong. It's not something I sit down and takes a day and a half to figure out. No, it happens like this because highly intelligent, right? So it happens really fast. So I can tell, right, when a person is predator, right? I can tell when a person is what they call guys that treat women like dirt. Those guys, I can tell when you're one of them. I can tell when you don't really care about me, right? But none of that stuff is the reason I do what I do. It's just that I know, right? People don't think you know, and that's the problem for them, right? Even when they realize you know, they still think they're smart enough to outsmart you, right? Because they also might be highly intelligent, narcissistic with sociopathic tendencies, right? They know the same thing I know. But do they think like I think, right? Because intent changes things, right? So if all I want to do when my body feels pain is give it back, right? My intent's not going to be healthy. If all I do when I get hurt, right, is absorb the pain and act like I deserve the pain, then my intent for me is not going to be healthy, right? So I ignore the pain, right? Sometimes you feel it really, really, really bad, but I ignore it because it's not meant for me spiritually, right? It might be meant for me physically, but I don't live in my physical. I live in my spiritual, so I ignore the pain because it's not about that in the spiritual realm. It's about doing the right thing for the right reason. It's about what's causing that. Why are they thinking like that? Why are they doing like that? And here's the end result, right? You're not going to be able to change who a person is, right? Knowing who a person is half the battle, right? You could spend the other half of your life trying to fix this person, right? Or you could just say, listen, this dude is a predator. And let somebody else deal with him because it's not really your job, right? Or is it? Right? And this is different. Now this is personal life, work life, personal life, work life. If there's somebody that's a predator in your work life, you need to figure that out. But if there's somebody that's a predator in your personal life, you don't need to be around them, right? Because they have an intent, right? Their intent is to control you, right? That's what a predator wants. It ain't about the raping and the violence and all that. It's about control. It's about power. That's what they want. If you could deal with that in your normal life, then you could. But if you got that in your business life, then you need to fix that, right? Something needs to give, right? And I'm gonna be real about that because predators that don't know they predators won't change. Predators that know they predators won't admit it because it'll change their outer world resources, right? You don't want to go up and tell somebody, listen, I'm a predator, but I work on it every day. You never get a job. You never work anywhere, right? But eventually, right, if you figure out what your issues are and you don't do something to stop them, they are going to be the end of you here on this planet. In your flesh, they are going to be the end of you. Your spirit could rise or fall. I don't know how you're living, but I'm telling you, right, that eventually it's going to catch up with you. Now, intent. let's say you don't have that kind of intent. Let's say you just like using guys or you just like using girls, right? Right? There's no real intent besides the fact that, you've been doing this your whole life. You feel like you're good at it, right? But you don't realize that one of the requirements of treating another person bad is like having no actual feelings for that person, right? You can't like really love somebody and do dirt to them unless you're in a revenge state or a vengeance state, right? Otherwise, you're going to want what's best for them. So the intent is never going to be bad if you're in love with somebody. But if you just have this thing where you want to use people, your intent is to use people, then you're going to put on the cloak of love, right? Because that's what they're going to see, what you're wearing, right? And you're going to put that on the outside because you're good at it, right? Somebody taught you how to dress up to your outside to look like it cares, and then get the inside to give you everything it needs, right? It doesn't mean the person is a bad person in general. It just means that the person does bad things and have gotten accustomed to doing the bad things. Now, when a person becomes made aware of the bad things that they're doing, right, they can acknowledge the bad things, but they can never acknowledge the routine. So why make a person aware of something that you're not going to make them aware of from the beginning to the end? If you're just going to make them aware by showing them the end, they're going to keep having the same problem. So stop trying to help if you're not really trying to help, right? Because where's your intent, right? So if a person is really struggling with something and you're trying to show them what they're doing, right, you have to show them from the beginning, right? You have to be able to see the beginning. And that's why the quote is the same yesterday, today, and forever, right? If you the same yesterday, today, and forever, all you got to do is look at yourself right now. And you can tell yourself what you did yesterday. Look at yourself right now, and you can tell yourself what you're doing tomorrow, right? The same yesterday, today, and forever, right? You have to start using these things that were given to you to remind you of how you work, right? Because if you don't believe it, right, and you think you're changing and things are happening different, you're always going to look at the outside. Right? You have to realize and start realizing that all those things you see changing on the outside are the result of things that you're doing the same on the inside. Right? And that's why they choose to try and call it insanity, even though the definition of insanity is an unhealthy mind, and then the end result of an unhealthy mind is doing the same things over and over. But also the result of an unhealthy mind, right, could be that your focus doesn't last longer than 5 seconds. It could be that you curse more than you choose to use regular words. An unhealthy mind can be a lot of things, right? It just so happens that one of them is doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results. But that is not the definition of insanity. That is the end result of the definition of insanity, right? It is something that the definition of insanity does, right? So it's not the definition of insanity. Insanity is an unhealthy mind. Let me tell you how powerful, right, learning from the street is, right? I spent about 7 years growing up thinking pigeons, right, had rabies, right? Because that's what they told us growing up in the hood. Pigeons have rabies. Don't play with the pigeons. They got rabies. Turns out only mammals can get rabies. I didn't know that, right? But if I never looked it up, right, and somebody said that, I'd have been like, yep, you better stay away from them pigeons. Right? Got to find out for yourself from the inside, right? So if all I do is get my knowledge from the outside, then all I'm ever going to learn is what other people have to say. I have to get my knowledge from the inside. And I know people say, how can you not watch the news, not do this, not do that, not do that, and still know what's going on in the world, right? From the inside, you can, right? The same yesterday, today, and forever, right? You can. You know that there's a process happening. You can. But the problem is we do everything by what we see. Now, I have friends in the business that study. All they do is research. All they do is study. Right? Hard work, right? to protect the external, right? But on the inside, they go to church every Sunday. They follow as many rules as they can. Uh, they live by the rules, right? Which means they might be a little bit judgmental at the end of the day, right? But we all are. Um, but on the inside, right, they're not what you see on the outside. Eh, 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 eh. Why do you think the first thing we look for is the outside? Because everything we learned from a child is from the outside, right? We observed, we try, it worked, it don't. We observe, we try, it worked, it don't. So we learn how to gain familiarity with life and things, right? By doing, right? Externally. Meanwhile, internally, you still suffering from the same things. The same yesterday, today, and forever, right? I still struggle with the same things I was struggling at when I was 9 years old. I remember things that happened to me when I was 2 years old. People would be asking me, my mother used to ask me, how do you remember that? And then sometimes she used to say, you wasn't even there. Because I used to dream shit that was happening. You wasn't even there. I've seen things, right, that most people say you wasn't even there. Same yesterday, today, forever, on the inside. So I trust my heart, right? And I'm not talking about that thumping thing right down here, right? I'm talking about that thing up here, right? There is a saying in the Muslim, not Muslim, Muslim religion. The scimitar is a sword, right? It's the sword that starts off thin, it gets thicker, and it curves, right? And then it comes to a point, right? They say it has the power to separate divinity from matter, right? So when you look at the Trinity is all in here, right? Mind, body, soul, all that's in here, right? This is matter, right? It matters, but then again, doesn't. Right? So it says it has the power to separate divinity from matter, and it's designed to chop off the head. So the process, in my thought process, says, right, if it's designed to separate divinity from matter and it's designed to cut off the head, which one would be the divine part? Would it be the body? Would it be the head? Right? Most people say it's not in flesh to think, it's not in bones to reason, right? So, thinking, reasoning, and willing are actions of the soul. So this can't be it, right? All that happens here, right? All the care happens here, right? So they say, right? Everything can be done here. Seeing, touching, tasting, smelling, hearing, all from here, right? People think touching means this. No, touching is this. Right? Touching is this. Right? Touching is touching. So, everything is up here. Right? So stop saying, he got heart. He got heart. It's just a bodily function. Right? It's just a bodily function. So, back to intent. If you don't know what your intent is, then you should not do something until you're sure. But if you don't care what your intent is, all you care about is payback, the outcome, or who started it, or whatever the case may be, right? It doesn't matter where you do it from, right? You can do it mentally, spiritually, physically. It's all going to be evil, right? And that's why we have two sides of the physical, spiritual plane too, right? The good side, the bad side, right? The good angel telling you to do the good shit, the bad angel telling you, fuck that nigga, do the right, do this shit, right? Do them the way they did you, right? We both have the potential to be either one, right? The outcome is, right? And this is another saying from the book, let your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds. So you got to start taking those things to heart, right? To understand what it's saying, right? Let your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds. Think about that. I'm trying to tell you that nobody's perfect, right? But the best you can do, right, you should do, right? The actual statement, let your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds, means that one day you could have a balance in deeds and go, well, today I need to do a good deed. You understand what I mean? You can actually control that. So when it says let your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds, it's telling you you have the power to do something, right? It's not telling you what works, right? It's telling you you have the power to do it, right? If you do it, it'll work, right? So we have this habit of missing the middle piece, right? The vital part of the information, right? We have the saying and we have the second outcome. We don't have the result of the saying, right? That's what people fill our heads in at, right? It's like when you sign up for cable, right? And you tell them, they tell you, yeah, you're gonna be paying $30 a month, right? For a year, right? Then 9 months into the year, you realize they done started charging you $90 a month, right? You've been paying it because it's an automatic pullout from your money, right? You got two options: cancel it or try to figure out what they did and fix it, right? But either way, right, you're gonna be still getting sent the bills, right? This is why they send you 1,000 letters and emails a day, right? Because you're gonna miss that one that says you have the option to cancel, right? And then they're gonna swear because they're billing you that you didn't cancel, right? So you're gonna be going through this process with a machine, right, that doesn't really have feelings in the first place, right? So you're responding to a machine that's re-responding to you, right? And it's frustrating you because you know that the bottom line is all you want to know is why you paying $90 rather than $30, and they ain't got no answer for you. They ain't got no answer for you, right? You know why they do that? Because the corporations have decided, right, that through maxims of law. Now, the actual first maxim of law is that truth is sovereign, which means that even the government doesn't control the truth. But then comes maxims that say he who leaves the battlefield first is lost. So, and they flood you with paperwork. And all that paperwork says, please respond within a certain amount of time. Right? I canceled with a company. They sent me 13 emails in one day. 13. All of them said a little bit something different. So by the time you get to the one that actually meant what they was trying to tell you, you didn't even look at it. Right? But that's still bad business on their part. But that's what they do, right? They get you so caught up that you just rather get it over with. You don't want to fight. Shit, I'm gonna have bad credit for a long time if they're gonna take money from me just because they feel like it or because, you know, they got the shit set up to run that way. I got a lot of people who think I owe them money I'm not paying. Because I know the truth. Truth is, I don't owe them anything. I have the paperwork to back up, but they're just going to keep complaining. They're going to mess with my credit scores. They're going to pull all that shit out, and then they're going to leave me the fuck alone. Right? But I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not trying to be happy in the system. I'm just trying to be happy. Period. Right? So I'm not letting things, like, control my feelings. If I spend my life arguing and wondering about what's going on next, no. I'm not doing that. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to enjoy what I do. I'm going to enjoy my intent. I'm going to enjoy my reasoning. I'm going to enjoy my status. I'm going to enjoy my life. Right? And me enjoying my life means doing stuff for other people. Right? But it also means for me, right, not letting other people or other things just do what they want to me anymore. It's not happening. It's not happening because at the end of the day, I got everything I need to prove what you did was wrong. At the end of the day. I don't care about all that stuff. I know what it is. The government don't care because the corporation's paying them off, right? Corporations don't care because you nothing but property to them. You in the same drawer at the clerk's office as the buildings that they own. In the deeds drawer. Your birth record is in the deeds drawer in the county you were born in, right with all the other property. So I already know how they see us. Right? How they see us doesn't change what I do though, right? But that's why it's so important, right, to have truth on your side. If you don't know, then you can't fight. If you don't know, then you can't be honest. Right? Well, you can be honest, you just won't be telling the truth. Honesty and the truth is two different things. In my book, honesty is when a person is telling you what they feel in their heart to be true. Right? It's no bad intent. It was all done with love. It just happened to be not true. That's what honesty is. Truth is different. It is what it is. Right? So I know that part. I know when people want to be honest. I know honesty doesn't always cut it. Right? It doesn't. But it allows you to realize where you are. Now, when that starts to come up over and over and over again, and you sit to realize that where you are is not where you think you are, or not where you should be, then you're going to do something about it. So honesty will get you to the truth if you listen beyond what you say. That's hard to do. When I start my treatment center, I'm going to start using a therapy called Adamant Denial Transcendence Therapy. I've been working on that for almost 8 years. And I've come to the conclusion that the reason it's so hard to get people in treatment, right, help, is because, first of all, they're too adamant in things they don't know to be true. Right? They just believe things and stubborn themselves into it, because if they think that there's a possibility that that's wrong, then they're going to blame themselves for the hurt. So they'll become adamant rather than admit they did something wrong, right? So if you can't get past the adamant part of a person and that's dealing with drugs, you're never going to help them, right? So you get past the adamant part in them, right? And you teach them not to be so adamant about everything, right? Then you start working on the denial, right? Adamant denial transcendence therapy, right? Then you start to get them to stop denying everything, right? Start just being honest, more honest, right? Start with that and then get to the truth, right? Start with the thing you know to be the worst about you. Tell it. Get honest, right? Get honest and then learn from the honesty the truth, right? Because you're going to have to transcend, right, the ability to be adamant. You're going to have to transcend the ability to deny everything, right? You have to transcend those things, right? But you're going to have to do that with truth, right? So you have your adamant denial transcendence therapy, right? And then I have truth therapy. It's real simple, right? But that's because I happen to be an understanding with me being the same yesterday, today, and forever, that I'm adamant about a lot of stuff. And if I didn't keep my mouth closed and think hard enough, right, I'd still be living in denial, right? Because I believe things so hard, there's nothing you can say, right? But the key to that is there's nothing you can say, there's something I can say. So I learned how to speak for myself, right? That's how I got out of that. Because adamant denial is about others. Transcending is about self, right? So you have to get past the other shit, right? And become self and transcend, right? So I'm working on those two therapies, right? And it's not saying that anybody can't do it, right? Anybody can't use that therapy, but if you tell something like that, right, and you work something like that out with the government, they're going to want climate standards, and they're going to turn it into another bullshit program that doesn't work for nobody. Cognitive behavioral therapies and family counseling therapies and modalities, and you know they do all that shit to keep you going in circles, right? Because they get more money than anybody off this shit, right? You know, they complain that the recovery treatment ain't working, but that's how they want it. Could you imagine if nobody was struggling and everybody was good? You wouldn't need the government. They need it to be a certain way And if you guys keep feeling like they're not setting us up by giving us the standards so that we can use their standards to stay where we at, right? You haven't figured that part out yet. Okay. Go to school. Get your 9 degrees, right? Talk to everybody you talk to at your job, and then you start figuring out why they still doing the same shit. Alright, that the only reason they changed is because they changed. It had nothing to do with all the shit you did. Didn't help at all. They just needed time to figure it out for themselves, and that's what we gave them. Wasn't the therapy, wasn't the help, wasn't the communication, it was time. Sometimes that is the reasoning. Right? Sometimes that is all a person needs. Time. Gotta be ready. People don't recover because they come into treatment and they're not ready. People don't recover because they go into NA and they're not ready. They just look ready. We call them dry drunks and Alcoholics Anonymous, and they call them, what do they call that? Talking clean, living dirty. In NA, right? People going to do what they're going to do until they're ready, right? And the reason for that is they're too adamant in their decisions. That's why they're going to do what they want to do. If you can get rid of the adamant, you can get rid of denial, then it don't matter if they're ready or not, right? Because the reality is it's killing them, right? And they want to live. Yeah, these are the realities. When you call them and you act like you're doing them a favor and they say yeah because they need to say yeah, right? But that changes because of the rules and the regulations when they get there. But the reason they came in is because they need help. It lasts about 3 days. Then before you know it, they've fallen into the system. And it ain't the system you created as an owner of a company, so don't feel bad. It's the system society and the government created, right? That you have to qualify for in order to help them. It's not you. It's that system. And I'm telling you the reason they do it, because they don't want everybody okay. They need a certain amount of people struggling. Come on, let's face facts. They're the ones, goddamn White House gave instructions to the mafia to flood Harlem with drugs. I knew that 40 years ago. It's hard to tell people that because people just think you junkies and bums, right? But the government has always been smart enough to make it look like, right, it was somebody else's fault. But how smart do you have to be to know that they full of shit? Don't get me wrong, man. I believe there's a certain amount of shit that has to be done in order for me to be able to sit here as comfortable as I am making this video. Whereas somebody else's country right now, the most they could hope for is the bomb stop dropping. Living in a cave somewhere, right? Don't know what they're going to eat tomorrow. Like, I believe that this government is the reason why all that's possible. Don't get me wrong. But I also believe that's the reason why all this other shit is possible too. Because you can't have one without the other. People say it's 2 sides to every coin. There's 3 sides to every coin. Just like there's a mental, physical, and spiritual. There's 3 sides to every coin. Do I have a coin? Jesus, I'm so tired of these rudimentary routines. This is a side, it's called heads. This is a side, it's called tails. And this is a side of this coin. There are 3 sides to every coin. 3, not 2. That's why I say your side, his side, and the truth. 3 sides. But because somebody said it a long time ago, we took it to heart, right? We never did any research at all, and it never even came up in anything because it wasn't really that important, but it was important enough to become vital when necessary. Because we use it just like they did. There's two sides of every coin, right? I get what you did, but there's two sides of every coin. What you did cost that. Huh. There's three sides of every coin. And that's just a matter of finding out the truth from being honest. Right? I was honest at one point. I was honest enough to say, yeah, there is two sides of every coin. Then I pulled out a coin to look at the sides. And I said, what about that side? It's standing on its side. When I had the coin standing up on its own, I said, it's standing on its side. That's a third side. Now, people will call it all kinds of shit so that it won't be equivalent to a side, but the bullshit and the truth is, right, it is a side. It is a side. Right? People just think sides mean this and this. No, squares have multiple sides. Right? Octagons, multiple sides. Right? It's all based on the shape. So, the ultimate understanding here, right, is that even before treatment, even before recovery, right, how you're raised is how you think, right? Who you are is how you grow, right? Who you are is how you go. People have bad intent when they're 2 years old. People have grins that look so evil, right? I've watched some of my friends grin and I'll be like, man, that is an evil grin. It shows me the other side. That is an evil grin. Everything about it comes from some place that makes it go, Hey, it's a bunch of shit put together to create that. I tell you, it takes a certain amount of things to make a smile and a certain amount of things up here to make a frown, and it's easier to smile because frowns use more muscles and all that crap. But realistically, this, right, is the physical part, like this, right? So all that stuff that is doing up there, that is taken to make the smile and make the frown, is coming from buildup in here, right? So when you have an evil grin, it's coming from buildup, right? In here, meeting, right? When you have an honest glow, it's coming from buildup, from here and here, until they merge. Good intent, right? You have options. The options aren't based on the drugs. It's not based on learning about another person's struggle. It's about learning how to get past yourself, to get to yourself, right? Because you're blessed. Loved above all, right? Given the ability to give life to things by giving them names, right? The ability to touch and a person feel better. Right? These are abilities, right? So we don't appreciate the abilities we use. We appreciate the abilities we think were removed, right? Like the telekinesis and the ESP, extrasensory perceptions. I have extrasensory perceptions. Don't move stuff from my mind just yet, but I know it's possible. I know anything's possible, right? But I believe, right? And then I have faith, right, in the things I believe in, right? And then I bring all those things that I have faith in to fruition, right? Belief is something you think perhaps might be true, right? So stop believing everything, right? Because by definition, you only think maybe it's true, right? Faith is something you know to be true, right? Now you know it's true, whether you see it or not. That's what faith is. The substance of things hoped for. The substance, right? The substance of things hoped for. Evidence, things not seen. Right? The evidence, right? So then you start to know that things are true. And then fruition, the final stage, being what you know. Right? So if you know, right, you are the same yesterday, today, and forever. Don't be ashamed of that. If you know you have been created in his image and likeness, don't be ashamed to call yourself a relative, right? And if you know that likeness means you do some things just like they do, right? Accept that, right? Don't feel bad about what you are given, right? Because we all have it. We all have been created in the image and likeness, right? We all have been given free will, right? That is a power beyond the power. But because we've been given these things, other people feel like because they've been given them too, right? They can make the decision on what's best for you because you have become what they see in the book as the people that were meant to suffer, right? And they just happen to be the people that were meant to be the people that made you suffer. So it is okay that we do you the way we do because it's in the Bible. Even in the Bible, that got different. Even in the Bible, Jesus said that got different. You had a lot of, we said you had a lot of laws. I'll tell you what the number one law is, right? Come on. Do unto it's the golden rule, right? And then the second one is what? Honor thy father and thy mother, so that their days may be long upon this earth. Now you have to honor certain things, right? And you have to be a certain way. That's it. Right? You don't have to cut somebody's eye out because they cut yours out. You don't have to not eat pork because somebody said things with open foots, right, are not good anymore. Because the truth is, Peter said he had a vision. I think it was Peter. I confuse names a lot, even in the real world. Said he had a vision where everything went up, showing him that everything was edible. Right? That all the rules of before had changed. Right? Initially, they were meant, right, to help people strive better, right? Help hearts remain more pure, right? But when things like that, right, are given to a person with free will, right, you can't ensure the outcome, right? You can only adjust it, right, to make it easier, right? Because the free will means I don't have to do it like that because I don't want it, because I feel like it. It doesn't mean I'm going to be blessed for being that way. It just means that I have a right to say no. Right? So with free will, right? And people treat people a certain way when people starving and the only thing they got to eat is pork. Do they die? Do they let themselves die? Does flesh take over? Are they spiritual enough to deal with that? I don't know. Right? So things become adjustable. Right? Things have been made adjustable. Right? But we don't look at none of that. We go to church every Sunday. These pastors preach these verses. Hey, man, to preach one verse and talk for an hour about it. You know how many verses are in the Bible? How many keys are in the Qurans? If you could spend a day discussing one key, life must be terribly hard. No. Stand by the truth. The truth is, you were formed beautiful. You were created beautifully. We were created beautiful. Right? Perfect. People like to find ways to make words make sense, perfectly imperfect and all this crazy stuff. No, it's perfect. Right? What I do next doesn't dictate whether I remain perfect or not, right? You're 23 years old, you look like a handsome young man, but when you're 9 years old, you might have 3 teeth missing, a black eye, and hair all over the place. It doesn't mean you're not still perfect. Right? People judge perfect based on what they see and what you do. No. Perfection is in you. It is you. Image and likeness, that's pure perfection. Right? It's the decisions we make that create our outcomes. When people do things, you say, that's ugly. That just created an imperfect outcome. Oh, that's beautiful. Add on to the perfect. Yeah, that's beautiful. Right. Why would you do that? You just put everybody at risk. Imperfect. It's all external. Right? Got to stop reading the Bible and looking at your daily outcomes. You got to be looking at your insides when you read the Bible. Do unto others. You know, that doesn't mean if a person buy you ice cream tomorrow, you buy them an ice cream. It doesn't mean that. Look at it from the inside, from the heart, from the purity, from the perfection. What that means. Be loving, be loyal, be caring. This is a 46-minute video. I'm going to end it now. But I love you guys. Right? Stop trying to be perfect on the outside. Be perfect on the inside. Be what you already are. Right? Fruition your life. You can do that. Fruition your life. Accept who you are. Don't let people feel like you're a traitor because you equate yourself to your father, or you're a traitor because you feel like you can do what the Father has done. He said all that, not you. This is how they're looking at you and not what he said in pertaining to you. Because he said the same thing about them. But if they can't be happy, how can you be happy? If they can't be like the Father, how can you? So they're going to bring you down so they can feel better. No, that's all on the outside. Right? Ego, image, 7 deadly sins thing, pride, anger, greed, gluttony, lust, envy, sloth. I love that one. They call it Paggles for short. Paggles. Right? Paggles. Pride, anger, greed, gluttony, lust, envy, sloth. 7 deadly sins. Paggles. That's how you remember them. You don't have to live by them. Any of them. Right? Those are all internal. Like the image and likeness. Right? They're all internal. You don't have to choose. The thing about the 7 deadly sins is that they're internal, like the image and likeness and everything, but they respond externally. Right? See, we don't respond with our image and likeness externally the way we should. Instead, we respond with pride, anger, greed, gluttony, lust, envy, sloth. Every situation fits one of them. And that's how we respond with them. But we don't respond with the image and likeness side of us. We could, because it's the only thing that's coming from the inside out. Right? Can be external when he said image and likeness, because none of us look alike according to y'all. All of us look alike according to me. I meet people of all nationalities that have the same facial structure as my father, the same facial structure as me. And I know they say in slavery and all that, but I'm talking about way back. Way back. Right? So you start with the internal image and likeness. You start to see the external image and likeness, because that's what you're going to start representing. That's what you're going to start showing, because that's what people are going to start seeing regardless to what they use in their sins. Right? That's the thing about light, the truth. It always comes out. It always comes on. Some people say in the beginning there was nothing but darkness. We were light. Right? We were light. There was always light. Right? Anyway, 50 minutes. Gotta go. Love you. Hope you at least listen to some of this. It's a very long video. Love you guys. Be good to yourselves and others.